They say Madame Koi Koi still walks the corridors of St. Mary's College at night. No one has seen her face in years, but everyone knows that sound. Koi Koi, Koi Koi, Koi Koi. The slow echoing click of red heels moving through the dark. Some say she guards the school, others say she's searching for something or someone. But me? I know what really happened, because I was there, the night she returned. The girl that screamed that night, she was already dead 2 days before. The harmattan wind had started blowing again, whistling through the dormitory rafters like a hungry spirit. St. Mary's was one of those ancient boarding schools built long before any of us were born, the kind with wooden floors that complained under your feet and thick walls that stored every whisper. We were more than 100 girls in the hostel, packed like sardines in a tin. At night, the place felt alive. Beds creaking, someone sniffling, another turning in sleep. But that night, even the walls held their breath. The first person to hear it was Ngozi, the head girl. She said it came from the far end of the corridor, a soft, deliberate koi koi, koi koi sound, like high-heeled shoes on tiled floors. But our floors weren't tiled. They were raw cement, uneven and cold. She thought it was a dream until the second night, when the sound came again, closer this time. By the third night, half the hostel was awake, listening. You could almost taste the fear in the air. Some girls whispered prayers, others hid under their blankets trembling. The senior girls tried to act bold, but even they refused to go and check. Then came Chiamaka, the new girl from Lagos. She joined midterm, a transfer student with perfect English and a smile that seemed too calm for a place like ours. She was quiet, polite, and always wore a white ribbon on her left ankle. We didn't know much about her except that she never liked to sleep early, and every night she sat by the window staring into the darkness behind the dormitory. One evening after prep, while others were washing plates or gossiping about crushes, I found her humming a strange tune. It sounded like a lullaby, soft, beautiful, but heavy. I asked her where she learnt it. She just smiled faintly and said, "My old school." That was the first time I felt it, that chill that sneaks into your spine when something is not quite right. The noise came again that night, louder. Koi koi, koi koi. Everyone froze. I was on the top bunk, heart hammering so loud I thought it would wake the whole room. The sound stopped right outside our door. Someone whispered, "Who is there?" Silence. Then bang, the door swung open. A gust of cold wind rushed in, blowing out the small lantern at the entrance. The entire room went black. All we could hear was breathing, not ours, heavier, slower. I swear on everything I love, we all heard it. A woman's soft laugh. It wasn't loud, just that kind of laugh that says, "I'm here." When the light flickered back, the door was closed again. But Chiamaka, she was gone. At first, everyone thought she'd gone to the toilet block, but when morning came and she didn't show up for roll call, panic broke loose. The principal ordered a search. They found her white ribbon near the back fence, stained with something dark and sticky. They said it was blood. We didn't see Chiamaka again, not that day, not the next. But the sound continued every midnight, exact same time. Koi koi, koi koi, koi koi. The matron said it was just the wind. The chaplain prayed and sprinkled holy water, but nothing stopped it. Girls started begging their parents to withdraw them. And then, the letters began. Every morning, the janitor would find a folded paper at the chapel door, each one written in red ink, each one saying only 3 words. She must pee. No one knew who she was, but the handwriting looked like Chiamaka's. By the 5th night, even the head girl moved her mattress near the exit. The rest of us slept with our shoes on, ready to run. The juniors cried in whispers, and some girls swear they saw a figure by the old mirror in the corridor, tall, slender, wearing something red. That was when the principal called a special assembly. She told us to stay calm, to stop spreading rumors about nonsense ghost stories. But as she spoke, I noticed her hand shaking. The sound came again that very night, right in the middle of heavy rain. Koi koi, koi koi. Faint at first, then louder. It echoed between the thunderclaps like it was mocking us. This time I decided I had to see for myself. I crept out of my bunk, bare feet, heart wild. The corridor stretched ahead, long, narrow, glistening with candlelight. Every step echoed louder than it should. Halfway through, the smell hits me, a mix of perfume and dust, sweet and choking. Then I saw it. At the far end of the hall, a pair of red shoes stood under the flickering bulb, shiny, spotless, facing me. But there was no one wearing them. The light blinked once, twice, and when it steadied again, the shoes were gone. Then from behind me, I heard it, a whisper right by my ear. Don't look back. I froze. The air went icy. My throat dried up. And then the sound returned right beside me this time. Koi koi, koi koi. I ran. I didn't look back. I didn't stop till I reached the dorm and threw myself under the blanket. When I woke up that morning, the first thing I saw was that single red footprint by my bed. Small, perfect, glistening like it was still wet. My first thought was that someone was playing a prank, but then I noticed something stranger. The footprint faced towards my bed, not away from it. Someone or something had been standing there. I screamed so loud I woke everyone up. The matron rushed in, and when she saw it, her face changed. She didn't say a word. She just covered it with a rag and told everyone to go outside. An hour later, when I came back, the rag was gone, and so was the footprint. That was when I knew we were not safe anymore. The next few days, things got worse. One by one, girls began to fall sick. Some would wake up with scratches on their legs. Others said they heard whispers calling their names in the middle of the night. Every evening after prep, before lights out, the teachers gathered in the staff room, whispering in low tones. From the corner of the window, I once saw the principal crying, holding something wrapped in a red cloth. The school tried to act normal. Classes continued. We still sang hymns in the morning assembly, but everyone could feel it. The tension, the fear, like something heavy floating in the air. And then during Sunday evening roll call, one of the juniors, little BC, raised her hand. "Ma," she said in her tiny voice, "I saw Auntie Chiamaka in the mirror." The whole place went silent. The teacher scolded her immediately, told her never to speak such things again. But that night, after lights out, BC started to cry in her sleep. We tried to wake her, but she wouldn't open her eyes. Her body kept shaking, and she kept mumbling something over and over. She said her shoes are not clean yet. She said her shoes are not clean yet. She didn't wake up again. By morning, her bed was empty, her pillow soaked with red stains. The principal called the police, but they left before midnight, said they couldn't find anything unusual. The next day, a notice appeared on the dormitory wall in bright red chalk. St. Mary's will bleed again. Nobody wrote it, nobody saw who did. After that, even the bravest girls started sleeping in the chapel, clutching their rosaries like lifelines. But even in the chapel, you could still hear it. That same dreadful rhythm echoing faintly through the corridor. Koi koi, koi koi. Some nights it came from the dormitory, other nights from the hall. And once, God knows I'll never forget, it came from inside the chapel itself. The chaplain said it was a restless spirit. He fasted for 3 days straight, burning incense and praying at every corner. But the moment he left for town, everything doubled. Doors slammed on their own. Candles blew out even when there was no breeze. And every midnight, the same perfume filled the air. Sweet, sharp, and choking. The exact scent Madame Kwekwe was known for. One night, while everyone else huddled in the common room, I found a note slipped under my pillow. The handwriting was neat, almost elegant. It said, "You saw me, now you must finish it." I didn't know what it meant. My hands trembled so much I could barely hold the paper. But as I looked closer, I noticed the ink wasn't ink at all. It was blood. Sleep stopped coming after that. Every sound became suspicious. Every shadow looked like someone standing there. I started counting hours to sunrise like a prisoner. Then, on the 10th night, everything changed. The principal announced that the school would be closed indefinitely. Parents were to pick their children the next morning. Everyone was relieved. Everyone except me. Because that night, I heard her voice again. Not the heels, the voice. I was lying still when a cold hand brushed through my hair. I turned sharply, but no one was there. Then the voice whispered, low and close. You opened the door. I froze. The sound of heels followed immediately, slow, echoing, closer and closer, till it stopped right behind my bed. I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe. Then something bent close to my ear and whispered, almost like a sigh, she shouldn't have worn them. When I opened my eyes again, it was morning. The hostel was full of noise, students screaming, teachers shouting. There, in the middle of the floor, lay the matron, her eyes wide open, her lips cracked, her hands stretched out towards something we couldn't see. And beside her body were a pair of shiny red shoes. When she woke up, she ordered them to be thrown away immediately. The groundskeeper carried them out and buried them behind the old dormitory fence. Everyone watched in silence. But that night, the sound came again. Louder, angrier. Koi, 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 koi. Koi, 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 koi. We could hear it from every building, every hallway, every corner of the compound. No one slept. No one dared to speak. And then came the scream. A voice, not human, tore through the darkness, echoing across the school like something breaking free. When we ran outside, the earth behind the dormitory was open. The ground where the shoes were buried was empty. The red shoes were gone. When morning came, the whole school was in confusion. Nobody could explain how the ground opened by itself. The gardener swore he buried the shoes deep. He even poured sand and stones to cover the spots. But somehow, during the night, the sand scattered like something had dug its way out. The principal refused to talk about it. She just stood near the chapel steps, sweating and shaking, holding her rosary so tight that the beads broke. By afternoon, some parents had started arriving. Girls were crying, throwing their things into boxes, happy to leave that cursed place behind. But me, I didn't leave. My parents lived far away and no one had come for me yet. The hostel felt strange that day. Silent, empty. The air smelled like iron and perfume. Every door creaked like it wanted to speak. Even the walls seemed to breathe. I tried to pack my things, but the moment I bent down to tie my bag, I heard it again. Faint, almost like it was coming from under the floor. Koi, 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 koi. My whole body went cold. I ran out immediately, but the corridor was empty. Later that evening, the principal called the teachers and the few girls remaining into the hall. The sun was setting and long shadows stretched across the walls. She stood at the front, her eyes red like she hadn't slept in days. My children, she began softly, please listen carefully. You must not open your doors tonight. No matter what you hear, no matter who calls you, stay inside till morning. Night came too quickly. The last of the parents left before dark, and the gatekeeper locked the big iron gates. Only about 20 of us remained in the school, mostly those whose families lived too far to come that day. The wind outside howled like voices. We tried to distract ourselves by singing hymns, but our voices shook. Then around midnight, the power went out. Total darkness. Even the generator refused to start. That was when the sound began again. Koi koi, koi koi, koi koi. Louder than ever.
This time, it came from every direction. The corridor, the dormitory, the chapel, the hall. It was like she was walking everywhere at once. Someone screamed. Another girl fainted. We held hands, crying, praying, begging God to help us. But the sound just kept moving closer, slow and steady, like it was enjoying our fear. The matron ran to the door to lock it, but it was too late. The door opened by itself, gently, like someone was pushing it from the other side. The air turned icy cold, and the smell of that same perfume filled the room. We saw her shadow first, long, thin, elegant, the outline of a woman in heels. The light from one candle flickered, and for a brief second, we saw the shape. Not clear, not full, but enough to make our hearts stop. A woman in red, hair flowing, her face hidden by something dark. She raised one hand, and the candle went off. Darkness swallowed everything. All we could hear was the sound of heels moving slowly around us, circling, then stopping right in front of me. My knees were shaking. I wanted to scream, but no voice came out. Then a whisper brushed against my ear. "You brought them back." I don't know what she meant, but as soon as she said that, the whole room shook, windows shattered, and the door slammed shut on its own. When it all went quiet again, I opened my eyes and saw that the principal was gone. We found her the next morning behind the old music hall. She was lying on the ground, eyes wide open, her feet bare. Her shoes, bright red, stood neatly beside her. After that, St. Mary's College was closed permanently. They told the newspapers it was because of structural issues, but we all knew the truth. Nobody said it out loud, but we all knew. A few weeks later, I was sent to another school, a new hostel, new faces. But the first night I slept there, just as I began to close my eyes, I heard it again. Faint, far away, but clear. Koi koi, koi koi, koi koi. I thought it was my imagination, until I saw the senior girl in the next bunk sit up slowly. She whispered, "Did you hear that?" I didn't answer. She smiled weakly and said, "They said one woman used to walk around my old school like that too. They called her Madame Koi Koi." My heart stopped. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept wondering, maybe she doesn't belong to one school. Maybe she moves from school to school, chasing the next story, the next fear. Because even now, whenever the wind blows through old buildings, you can still hear it faintly. That slow, steady, chilling sound. Koi koi, koi koi, koi koi.
And somewhere in the dark, a woman's soft voice hums a song only dead girls remember. After St. Mary's was closed, I thought I had escaped her. For months, I didn't hear the sound again. I tried to forget everything, the school, the blood, the shoes, the perfume. But no matter how far I ran, something kept following me. Sometimes, in my dreams, I would hear soft footsteps coming down a hallway, and I would wake up sweating, my heart beating fast. Then one day, my new school announced an inter-school choir competition. Guess where they said it would hold? St. Mary's College. The government had repaired part of the building and turned it into a training center. People said the old stories were just superstition. They even laughed when we mentioned Madame Koikoi. But me, I knew better. Still, I didn't want anyone to think I was crazy, so I joined the choir and went with them. The moment we entered the compound, my stomach twisted. The air felt heavy, like the walls still remembered. The chapel was freshly painted, but the smell of perfume, faint but familiar, floated in the air. We rehearsed all day. The teachers laughed and took pictures. Everyone looked happy, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us. When evening came, I found myself wandering near the old dormitory. It was locked and covered in dust, but through a cracked window, I saw something shining on the floor inside, like glass catching light. I leaned closer. It was a red shoe. I froze. The left one this time, standing alone, pointing toward the hallway. The same kind of shoe that started everything. I stepped back slowly, but the moment I turned around, I heard it, that sound I hoped I would never hear again. Koi koi, koi koi, koi koi. It echoed softly through the hallway, growing louder with every step. I ran. I ran past the chapel, past the classrooms, straight to the rehearsal hall. My friends looked at me like I had seen a ghost, and maybe I had. Before I could speak, the lights went off. Total darkness. The generator refused to start, just like before. Then from the far end of the hall, we heard her voice. Low, soft, familiar. I told you, I don't like being forgotten. Everyone screamed. We ran toward the exit, but the doors refused to open. The sound of our heels grew louder, faster, echoing all around us. One by one, the candles began to light themselves, red flames burning without touching a match. In the flickering light, we saw her clearly for the first time. Her face was covered with a black veil. Her dress was bright crimson, glistening as if wet with something thick. The heels were red too, shining like polished blood. She glided instead of walking. Every step echoed, koi koi, like a warning. We stood frozen. Then she stopped right in front of me. She whispered, "Why did you bring them here?" Her voice sounded like the wind and thunder mixed together. I wanted to answer, but my throat felt locked. Her gloved hand reached out slowly, touching my cheek. The moment she did, I saw flashes. Her life before death.
A beautiful teacher, loved by many, wrongly accused, betrayed by her students, beaten and left to die in her red shoes. Her last breath was a curse. Every place of learning that forgets me will remember again. Then the vision faded. I found myself kneeling on the floor, tears rolling down my face. The hall was silent. She was gone. But one red shoe stood where she had been, and a single drop of blood slid down its heel. The next morning, St. Mary's building caught fire. No one could explain how it started. They said maybe it was an electrical fault. But those of us who were there, we knew. The school burned to ashes. And when the firefighters finally put out the flames, they found one thing left behind in the smoke. 2 red shoes standing neatly side by side, untouched by the fire. They said they'll rebuild the place again next year. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. But every time I pass that road at night, I still hear it. That faint, steady rhythm echoing softly through the distance. Coin, 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 coin. Sometimes it sounds like she's walking closer. Sometimes it sounds like she's just watching from far away. And when I look behind me, there's nothing. Only red dust and the smell of her perfume. Now tell me, if you were in my shoes that night and you heard Madame Coin Coin calling your name, would you look back?
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories.